Hey y'all, it is a word on a Wednesday, and I'm so excited to have my good friend Tasha join us tonight. And she should be here soon. So, yay! You're the one person in the room.
I think it's perfect.
It's always one of those things where in my mind, I've learned to just like kind of focus on the conversation, and
Yeah.
then whoever needs to get it and access it will access it. Also, I'm
Yeah.
loving this scarf on you.
Yes.
I haven't seen your face in so long. We don't have to go into the details, but just know that I very much like your face, and I'm glad to see your face and all those things. And I'm so grateful that I get to access you online, but also offline. And
Yeah.
so I'm very grateful for you, friend.
Thank you so much. I enjoy seeing your face as well. It has been a long time.
I know, I know. Y'all, I regularly harass Tasha on Marco Polo not to tell our business. And so what I'm talking about is that I've not harassed Tasha on Marco Polo in a while. So
Yeah.
how has your Wednesday been?
Today has been highly let's see, I can only answer honestly. So
Yes, please.
today has been emotional. Um but it's been a day where it hasn't been all bad. Like
Yeah.
you ever have these days where it's like a shit day and then at some point insight drops in and you're like, oh wait.
I'm hoping that's what happens tonight with you because it's been a shit
Yeah.
day. It's been a shit
Yeah.
week, you know? And I told myself the highlight of my Wednesday is going to be the time I spend with Tasha.
Yeah. Oh.
So that puts a lot of pressure though, right? Because now you're like, damn, like
I'm like, fuck, let me show up and show up
I
great.
know,
Like,
like I gotta be the highlight of Kina's day. What's interesting is I saw something. Gosh, I haven't really been online today. I really haven't been online a lot this week, but I saw something today briefly that just kind of, oh, Rachel Cargo, she made a post about seasonal depression. Have you seen that yet,
mm.
Tasha?
um, so I saw here's my truth. I saw something by her, but the only thing I saw is she had on a red dress in a post.
Yes.
And I immediately went online and said, I need me a fucking red dress, like right now.
First of all, sis is styling the hell like Rachel, like all the things. You get what I'm saying? Like all the things. So yes, I saw the red dress. Yes, I saw the pose. You know, in the event someone wants to share this with Rachel, we're
Yeah.
fangirling over Rachel right now. But
Yeah.
the post too was powerful because she talked
I didn't
about,
read it. I
yeah,
just I said, oh, the
you
way
were
she
like,
sit on that couch with that red dress on,
I
I'm going online.
need it. I need it in my life, right? It was a mood. But I saw the post, and you can check the post out
Yeah.
later. But the
Mm-hmm.
post was about seasonal depression.
Mm-hmm.
And, how do we get healed? We get healed with others' transparency, with people telling the truth of where they are, right? And so she talked about, like, look, this time of the year, stuff ain't, I'm not feeling the things. And
Yeah.
here are the techniques I'm using to like manage this. She talked about like how she clues her friends in to like how her emotional needs are, her mental needs. And I was like, sounds like a plan, right? And so I appreciated the transparency. I feel like a lot of people really this time of year, last week, Sonia and I were talking about feeling like there's a shift, right? And I think that's true. But while things are changing in our atmosphere, while the like nature is literally responding, right? Nature is like, like this is harvest time, but this is also the time when some things start to like fold into themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think as humans who, even though we live in a world that tries to like separate us from nature, right, and
Mm-hmm.
act like we're like above all of the things that happen around us, we feel that, right? We feel the groaning and all that stuff. And so I think it's okay to normalize, like, hey, like, I don't feel like I'm on my axis all the time.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because the insight that I gained after this really emotional day is that I just started brainstorming all the things that we say to ourselves and to other people that really violate our own well-being, our own mental health. For instance, hearing someone say, I'm staying for the kids.
Mm.
I'm I'm being strong for them. I'm being strong for my siblings. I'm being strong for my parents. I'm being strong for my children. I'm being strong for the people that I work with. I'll take the hits. I can take it. And while right, that's noble, that's wonderful, right? But at the same time, it's killing us.
Yeah.
And and so it's like we're living in this day and age. Can we take advantage of the privilege that we're born into? Our ancestors didn't get a chance to show weakness,
That part.
to talk about their emotions, to normalize the fuck out of, I'm really sad, I'm really depressed, I'm fucking traumatized over this situation. My insight from today was that I am no longer going to exist in this body and hold back my tears.
Yeah.
I'm no longer going to exist in this body and be strong for anybody else. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be weak. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to be all those things. Authentic for me, because my life, it's in my control. Like, this is my life. So I don't know. I feel like I may have went on a tangent, but that was just kind of some insight.
No, I think you're gonna get me delivered and some other people delivered. And there were a
Yeah.
lot of things that came to mind when I heard you say that, Tasha. The first thing I wanted to say is, I'm a systems person. I look at things, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. And and I want to be careful about how I say this, but this is an anti-blackness reader. And so for anybody who sees this is black shit. I try to tell people all the time. Like, all types of people are welcome to show up and learn and feel things, but the conversation happening over here is for us.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to cite this information. When we think about something like heart disease, for example, right? No one usually broadcasts that is the number one killer of black women in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But one, people think it's like like a problem for men, right? Because that's how the rhetoric and framing of that conversation usually happens. But two, most people don't talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I found that out a couple years ago, I was like, oh wow. But then I said that tracks, right? Because of the ancestral pain, because of the trauma, and because of the mythology of the black woman with a
Yeah.
cape who could do all the things.
Yeah.
So about a month or so ago, it was not very long ago, uh, I be telling my mom's business on these lives. I'm so glad she don't pay attention like that. But about a
Mm-hmm.
month ago, like, my mom's brother died, and so like she was dealing with the grief of her brother, and then a situation happened with another loved one, and so my mom was really in it. Okay, so another one of my cousins saw my mom cry that day and said, oh my gosh, I've never seen auntie cry. I've never seen auntie cry before. oh, it's just, and maybe I asked him why it was. I know what I said is, yeah, I'm not used to my mom crying either. And then he's like, yeah, that's because y'all are just so strong. That's because y'all are just so strong. Black women, y'all queens, y'all are just so strong. And I said, hold on. And this is a Black man, right? I said, pause. I cannot let you leave this conversation with that. I said, we perform strength well, for sure. But this idea that we don't like have breaks or fractures, I can't let you walk away thinking that, because that is a problem. You get what I'm saying? The idea
Yeah.
that we just can, we could take it all in, take it all in. And that's why conversations like these are important. I never said out loud what we're talking about, but we are talking about
Wow. Yeah.
protecting our energy, protecting our Black girl magic. And what does it mean to say, I can't handle all the things?
I want to throw something else at you. I need to get a Kleenex.
Yeah.
I want to throw something else at you as it relates to that. I often use the analogy of, when people talk about the strength of Black women, I always use the analogy that starts in childhood, when we're not allowed to really be vulnerable. We're not allowed to be soft. We're not allowed to be weak. We're not allowed to cry and to show emotion in any regard. And I use this example with my clients too. As children, if you've ever been told, don't, if you fall off your bike or you skin your knee, and adults around you say, don't cry, you're okay, you're okay. For me, that is the first violation of not being able to show true emotion. So you're telling me I'm hurt. I see the blood, I see the pink flesh, but you want me to be strong and not hurt, instead of normalizing the fuck out of it and saying, it's okay, cry. I know that hurts. It's not going to hurt forever. It's going to heal up. Eventually, you're going to be okay, but it's okay to cry. Let it out.
Well, then
You piss your, one more thing, if you piss your kids off, you take their toy, you put them on punishment, you yell at them, they show emotion because they don't have words like we have, that they don't even, they can't, but they cry. Well, what you crying for? Well, if you hurt my damn feelings, I'm going to cry. And I heard Courtney Napier, my friend Courtney, she said, Leos are sensitive. I'm a Leo. I'm sensitive. I'm either going to cuss you out or I'm going to cry. I might do both. But Kina, to your point, that damage starts in childhood.
Yeah.
And Black people, we got to stop this thing of being strong for other people, because it's bullshit.
All of that. And all I was going to add to that is, because Black people talking about Black people's shit right now. When Black kids are physically, after you get a whooping or a spanking, whatever it is,
don't cry.
What you crying for?
Right.
I thought that was the goal of this whole enterprise.
Yeah.
You grab the belt, you grab the switch, you hit me with it. I am now crying. I thought that was in game here.
Right.
And so I will never forget, years ago, I don't have kids, but I'm an aunt. And my oldest nephew got a whooping. And then my sister tried that with him. You better shut up before I give you something to cry about. You just gave him something to cry about.
Right.
And he's crying because of the thing you did. And so I remember, I try to be really careful as a non-parent, so I kind of waited until later. I was like, hey, that thing you said, it doesn't make sense. That is what you were going for. So I just wanted to add that another layer to that.
Yeah.
How, that's a cluster F.
It is. And then this is just my opinion. I think that throughout history, because when we look at our ancestral line, our ancestors weren't able to be vulnerable, right? And to show weakness. And now, this is just my opinion, I think that it's a widely held belief that Black people don't hurt as much, that we can just take the shit.
Yep.
We can take all matter of violations and we'll be okay. We don't hurt like other people hurt, because you know what? Other people, they're going to scream, they're going to raise hell, they're going to do all kinds of things to show their emotions while we're trying to be strong.
Girl, don't make me cry on this thing.
Yeah.
Because one, there's a man that J. Marion Sims is considered the father of gynecology. He created all of these like medical wonders or whatever, medical genius, whatever you want to call them. And the bulk of his life's work, he spent experimenting with Black enslaved women. Mm-hmm. And people have access to his medical diaries, Tasha, and he literally names enslaved women, and he literally cites them as like not being able to experience pain, a strong fortitude for, and it's like that legacy lives on in an anti-Black world where the expectation is things don't affect us the way they affect other people. And I also want to bring this out, and I've thought about this so many times. The things that people need to get well, so something like therapy. Right. We grow up hearing that shit's for white people.
Yeah.
If anybody in the United States needed their ass some therapy, it's Black folks who are carrying the trauma in our genes of our enslaved ancestors. But we've been convinced that this ain't shit for us.
Right. And in the meantime, and I always go back to it, we're dying. You mentioned heart disease. We're dying of heart disease. We're dying of stroke. We're dying of cancer. We're dying of all the things because we don't acknowledge our shit. We don't acknowledge our pain, not to ourselves, not to our loved ones, not to our friends. Can't be honest in church because they're gonna
sorry, look.
There's all kinds of things. You can't be yourself in any regard.
You might as well finish the thought, sis. You might as well finish the thought, because I know I raised my eyebrows, but can't be honest in church because
you can't.
Because you can learn the rough side of the mountain theology.
Yes, because we've been taught that we just take our cares to white Jesus, and white Jesus will wipe everything away, will wipe all the pain away. But before my pain gets wiped away, can I acknowledge that I'm even feeling pain?
And then on top of that,
can I acknowledge?
And then white Jesus tells you it's okay for you to suffer, because in the sweet by and by, then you'll get a bigger mansion.
You suffer here. You suffer all the day long. And maybe if you're good enough and your name is written in that book, you might get into heaven. I don't know. You might go to the land of milk and honey, but your ass gonna be in hell while you on earth. And that's just white Jesus theology. I'm not going for it.
I'm not. In fact, at this point in time in my life, because I have been delivered from white Jesus, when people start talking about me, I'll be like, are we talking about Palestinian Jesus? Because if we ain't talking about Palestinian Jesus,
right,
I don't got no room for the conversation.
I don't. And so we've learned this language throughout history of just being okay, being strong, being okay, not acknowledging pain. And in the meantime, our families are suffering with all kinds of mental illness. And like you said, I love that you say it, people say, well, that therapy's for white people. Well, damn it, I guess I'm white because I'm a Black woman in therapy, and I'm a damn therapist.
You double white then.
I'm double damn white. So...
But I want to go back to that too, because that's not the only thing that we have heard and have replicated. right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, the transparency brings healing.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we have internalized that are, can literally be the death of us.
Yes.
And we have to be able to call it what it is, name it, and address that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of those things is I'm a ride or die chick. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm not the first person that says this, and I'm not going to be the last. But it bears repeating a million times until we get it straight. Why are those my options?
Right.
And
To
we've
ride
taken
or
that
to die.
ride or die, and we've taken that as like a, you know, a badge. Like I'm a ride or die type of chick. That's not good for me. And as a
Yeah.
woman who's dating, Tasha, Tasha, I ask men, what are you looking for? So often I get, I'm looking for a ride or die. And then I'm like, this was kind of right till it went wrong.
Yeah.
So that's just another one of those, I don't know if we want to call them like urban myths or what, but we got to really like think about that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's from the context of you're riding with me while I do the criminal thing. And if
Yeah.
we get caught, you willing to die with me too.
No.
Why
I'm not made of that kind of skin. So so I'm not a good ride or die because as soon as you do some shit that could mess up my money or put me in jail or
I
anything,
was just about to say, I remember when you told me that. I don't know what I asked you to. I was like, Tasha, do something. You were like, look, Keena, I support you, but
I'm just not. Yeah, you're gonna get a whole ass lecture. You're gonna get harassed by me. Then I'm gonna cut your ass off because I'm like, I'm not testifying in court for no damn body. I got better
Keena.
things to do with my time. Don't ask me
So
for a character reference. Don't ask me for nothing. It's a no. It's just
that's
like
a
Dr. Julie
no.
said. It's a no.
And then it's just like what you call it, our brother from American Idol. That's a no dog. Like
Yeah, I'm nobody's ride or die. I could ride. I mean, depending on what you're doing and if my energy's set up right. But uh, no. And I've been,
so.
I'm a military veteran. I ain't really trying to die for no shit either. So there's that.
Oh my god! If it ain't a just cause, if it ain't a just cause, no sir,
No,
no ma'am.
no.
So if
Mm-mm.
so I wanted to also like name. I know we're laughing and stuff, but there's
Mm-hmm.
I started reading this book, Tasha, called The Body Keeps the Score. I say
Yeah.
I started. I put the book down because
Mm-hmm.
I just was like, this hurt in the hip, and I do not have the emotional fitness.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
to carry this for where I am in life. We will try this
Yeah.
again in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And where I stopped was thus. The book is really, I always recommend, like, if people have that emotional dexterity, it's a really great book because it talks about how the trauma of racism and anti-Blackness lives inside our body. It's not just like a mental experience, the body
Mm-hmm.
actually knows it. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it has given me language because now I tell people I wasn't born in 1913. I don't know what 1913 segregated Louisiana is like, but my body knows because I was in my grandmother's body and she embodied that experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a knowing in our soul, there's a knowing in our mind, and there's a knowing in our body, and we have to
Yeah.
get in alignment, right? But the thing that really just made me stop close the book is because it talked about trauma responses. And the
Mm-hmm.
book talked about, like, individuals can have trauma responses to things they experience in life, which I knew that wasn't a shock to me. But then it took it a step forward and said, and communities can have trauma responses. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, the first thought I had, Tasha, was so when Black people are in a space and one Black person starts running, and then we all start
We all
running,
run.
We don't
Yeah,
ask
we all run.
questions. We don't investigate, right? We don't be like, oh, I wonder why Tasha's running. We like, Tasha's
Yeah.
running. I start running. I was like, oh shit, communal trauma response.
Yeah, I saw this, and I think that most, I'll say all of the brown people that I serve, most of my clients, I would say 98% of my clients are Black people. But even my brown clients, I remember, us talking about immigration, and some of my brown clients, Hispanic, Latino clients, they would talk about, even if they've not done anything wrong, they've got they've got their quote unquote their papers, they're following all of the traffic rules. As soon as they see someone from law enforcement, a vehicle pass by, anything, they freeze. They get really afraid.
Yeah.
Because of what's been done to them. Okay. And maybe it wasn't personal, but it's happened in their family. It's happened to their ancestors. It's happened to people who share, the same blood, right? So anyways, I could talk about that forever, but
Yeah.
yeah, all of that trauma lives in our bones. Just that vicarious trauma. It's ancestral, it's generational. It's, in our community.
Yeah. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kind of like piggyback off of that, and I'll bring us back to the current conversation. How can we expect a generation, especially of children, who have literally seen images of people not only in detention centers, but generations of children who lived in detention centers?
Yeah.
How do we not think that shit won't manifest?
Right.
Right? For the people who've seen it, but also for the people who've experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How do we not think that the fruit of that will not, it will not show up?
Well, I want to just mention real quick, because you talk about the importance of naming things. We're seeing all of the things that are happening, again, to our Black and brown brothers and sisters all across the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the treatment of Black and brown people is steeped in that early belief that we're not even fully human. We're only 3/5. So how can we feel? How can we be traumatized if we're not fully human?
Yeah.
And if we're not naming our pain, if we're not talking about the impact of everyday triggers, seeing CNN, seeing MSNBC, seeing the footage on Twitter, in all the places, all the things that are happening in Afghanistan, no matter where it is, our Black and brown brothers and sisters, we got to get used to naming all of the things, naming terrorism, right? Naming all of the things that are happening to us and getting some help, because this shit is not normal.
Not normal.
Right. Yeah.
And not calling it something else.
Right.
So I've been experiencing, and you know some of this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I've been experiencing my own kind of challenges, right? And it took me a long time to say, no, this is a violent situation.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, oh, no, it's not violent, it's toxic. No, it's violent. It's like, this is threatening my actual life. I'm not going to downplay it, because the person was like, oh, that's just a toxic thing. It is toxic and also violent. And so I'm not going to downplay what I'm experiencing. And if nobody else gives me permission to call it what it is, I'm going to give myself permission to call it what it is. Because again, in our community, we have a way, and I'm not saying this to judge us, Tasha, right? Because I get it. In a Black community, especially when like access to healthcare is flawed, I understand why one would want to call diabetes the sugar.
Mm-hmm.
because that makes it more manageable to discuss. It takes some of the
Mhm.
fear away. It makes it less, you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, I can manage the sugar, but diabetes, that's scary, right? So I get why we have like learned how to revise things, but we got to figure out like how to stop that and call a thing, right? And the second thing I wanted to
Yeah.
name too is, and
Mhm.
I said this last night in my Patreon community, and this is
Mhm.
something I recently just, like, it freaking dawned on me, Tasha. For Black,
Mhm.
brown, and indigenous folks who are attempting now, like never before, to develop a practice of rest,
Mhm.
I know why it's hard.
Mhm.
Because that is literally why we were brought to this country.
Yeah. Well, and I did like this when you were talking, because I'm thinking you're not judging us, but I fucking am.
Okay, so we're gonna go
I,
back to that.
yeah,
Okay.
I fucking am judging us. Again, let's go back to your example of calling it, oh, so and so got the sugar. We all have a right to eat and live however we want to. That's fine. But do you want to continue to eat the cake, or do you want to live?
Yeah.
I mean, and at the point to where a doctor says you can do this or you can do that. And if you do this, you know, you can live, change your eating habits a little bit. And I come from a family who, they don't be following the doctor's orders. They just do what they want to do. And have, let's see, 4 people in my family have passed away in the last 2 years. And so it's like at that point, for instance, you know, the doctor told me, Tasha, you got to care for your heart, because I have some heart issues. Immediately started cutting things out of my diet. Immediately, you know, when the doctor said, you got to get rid of your stress, you're working too hard, you're doing too much. Immediately I did it, because I said, I only have one life. So
Yeah.
let me respect the life that I've been given. And so it's fine to partake in certain things every now and then, but not in every day, all day, unless that is how we decide we want to kill ourselves.
Yeah.
And I
So
realize that's coming down really heavy. And I also realize that some of that is privilege, because not everybody has access to the same level of healthcare, grocery stores, money, shopping for things, all. So I do that. That's pinging in my brain as well.
I'm glad you said that, because I was like, sis, I hear you, I believe you, I agree with you. Can we complicate that a little bit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because to your
yeah,
point, it should be that easy. But one of the things I always say is it pays to make good decisions, but it costs to make good decisions.
it does.
And so it goes
We-
back to, what do you have access to?
Yeah,
And I just want to name this about food in particular, right? Again, I agree with you. Eating better, making smarter decisions, following the doctor's orders, right? But when food is the only thing people can have luxury,
yeah,
the only way people can have luxury in their life, right?
I
And
agree.
that's a
Hmm.
whole different conversation,
I
right?
agree.
But if people have an abundance of food support via TAF programs, right? And they don't have extra shit anyplace else in life, we can splurge on, right?
Yeah,
And so that's a whole nother conversation. But I do agree with you. But that also goes back to living in an anti-Black world where people don't have access to the best ways to make good decisions about food. You know what I'm saying? Like exercise, mental health, right? And the truth is, I am able, and I'll use a very good example. When the murder of George Floyd, like when George Floyd's murderer's case happened earlier this year, I was very intentional. I knew when the trial was happening. I knew all of the things that would come up for me in that moment. So I created some plans. I had proxy folks who would watch the trial. So if I wanted to stay current, but I didn't have to watch, I had all these plans. On the day they were going to announce the sentence, Tasha, I went on about $200 something worth of plants.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that like I'm a baller. That
No,
is
I get it.
because it was something to do, to cultivate, to think of. And so my privilege made it easier to not go out there and like smoke a blunt.
Right.
It would have been cheaper to get a blunt. I don't buy blunts, but I feel like they're cheaper than $200. The way the movies talk about it, crack
Yeah.
is like much cheaper than therapy, and a blunt is much cheaper than a whole bunch of plants.
Yeah.
So I just want to complicate that. And again, I also want to say this because so many times people love to talk about the bad decisions our community makes. They don't contextualize that shit.
Yeah.
When people were holed up quarantining in their houses, and quarantining is bad for everyone. Everyone felt like they were captured, right? So I want to name that. It was not great for anybody, especially if you live with somebody that you like, damn, we married and I don't even like your ass. So that's a bad scene. But if you got a backyard with a pool and a backyard with a tennis court and 3 floors in your house and a basement that you can make into your own private yoga studio, that is very different than a family of 7 cramped in a 3-bedroom.
It
You see what I'm
is.
saying? And
It is.
so,
Yeah.
I know we just kind of went on a tangent. Hi, sis.
But it was a good tangent. I mean, when we think about the privilege, as you were talking about the $200 in plants, I'm thinking, I went to the grocery store today. Literally, no kidding. All I bought were fresh fruits and vegetables, just produce. And it was $90 for all of my produce.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the cashier. I said, that's white supremacy. I said, that is fucking white supremacy, because I just came in here for my cabbage, for my peppers, for my tomatoes, my onion, my mangoes, and all that shit. That's white supremacy, wanting to kill me, because if I would have got some ramen noodles, some Chef Boyardee, some frozen meals, I could have probably spent about $30 or something. I don't know. I'm probably making that up.
I think
But
you could go to McDonald's right now and for $5 buy 100 chicken nuggets.
right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but because I was buying food that's heart healthy, right? And all of these things, it was $90. This is why people can't eat healthy.
Yep.
That's literally all I bought. Every bag was produce. And I'm like, why is this $90? And so white supremacy, as I say on my podcast, as I say in my mental health practice, white supremacy is the root of all evil.
Look, I tell everybody, white people included, you need to pick up on my motto, and my motto is, I ain't about to let these white people kill me, because that is, and I tell that to anybody. That's what I'm telling you. I have my white friends, Tasha. You know I have white friends. I'd be like, girl, you better not let these white people kill you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And he was like, well, you saved $1.15 on your groceries today. And I'm like, $1.15? Really?
Thank you so much. Fight the power.
Yeah. Right. So, I don't know. I feel like we have kind of gone off, but
I know we been talking about food deserts and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to something I said about rest. All right.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to get rest?
Mm-hmm.
So what I named is for Black, Brown, Indigenous folks. Well, let me take Indigenous First Peoples off the table because they were already here living their best life,
Mm-hmm.
and the colonizers came and attempted to enslave them too. So there's that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who came to this country after it was like in the process while it was getting settled and afterwards were invited for labor. We were brought here for labor. Chinese Americans were brought here for labor. Hispanic Americans were brought here for labor. And so when you think about that being embedded not only in the culture, but again in our genes, you wonder why we don't know how to sit down because it's like, I gotta be doing something. And then when you couple that with capitalism, sis, because capitalism tells all of us we're only as productive as we're producing. And so there is no impetus for me to sit my black ass down and just sit, right? It's like, I gotta do something. And if I am resting, I feel like I have to earn it. I had a
Yeah.
vacation this summer, Tasha, and I feel like this is something I told you. I did so much running around to prepare for the vacation so I wouldn't have to do stuff that when the vacation came, I was sick. I was sick.
I remember you were very sick. Yeah. Yeah.
So feeling like I have to do something to earn rest, to like earn ease. I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But
As you were talking, Kina, I was thinking about before I worked for myself, years, well, really, it's been years. And I remember being on jobs and looking at my pay statement and looking at my PTO and prodding myself in the fact that I got 30 days of PTO. I got this many hours of PTO. Why? Why am I saving it? But I thought that was like something to be proud of.
Like it was a marker of how hard of a worker you were.
Right. I would come in to work early. I would leave late. I would allow these people that were in charge of me, and they weren't all white, but these people to contact me on my time off, and I would make myself available. If you need anything, I'm going to be on vacation, but if anything comes up, you call me. Bitch, that's white supremacy. That is fucking white supremacy. I'm not available to you 24/7. You don't pay me for 24/7. So why am I making myself available when I'm expendable? Like if something happens,
that part.
Like something happens to me, you're just gonna get somebody off the conveyor belt, put them in my position to continue making the widgets, and it's gonna keep going on and on.
They might say some kind words at your funeral.
They might. About it. Yeah. But we have learned, because of white supremacy, that our value is in what we produce. I mean, and I got to go back to white Jesus on that. Even in church, it's based off of what you do. I can't just simply go to church and sit in the pew. I got to do something. I got to prove my worth. I got to prove that I'm a good member. I got to pay money. I got to give to all the things.
You got to give to all the things.
Yeah. I have to constantly produce and slut myself, out, just do everything. That is the truth. And that stems from white supremacy. So at this point in my life, I'm not really worried about what I'm producing. And I'm resting and I'm saying no. And I'm putting up appropriate boundaries. And I'm taking time out when I need to. I'm resting.
Tasha, can we talk about how hard it is to do that?
Oh, it's so hard.
I want to name that for folks because I think, with people like the NAP ministry and people like you and all these amazing people, I think people are hearing that, right? That, but let's talk about how hard it is to do that.
Because Black people, there was this, I don't hear it anymore because I don't even have people in my life that would ever say this, but before you're lazy. If you're not producing, why are you sitting on the couch watching TV? You need to be working. You need to be doing this. Don't you got something that you could be doing?
Woo.
No, bitch, I'm resting. I'm watching my favorite show.
Woo.
I'm chilling.
A man don't work, he don't eat. That has to be something that White Jesus remixed.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I'm going to get somebody free tonight. All this shit we working for is free.
Yeah.
I was this old when I found it out, Tasha. I would love to say I was 20 or 25. I was 40 when I just sat down and was like, oh my gosh, all of this shit is free.
And I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. I'm gonna just go ahead and call it. I'm gonna name this for everybody. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because before this call, I literally got my little notebook and I'm like, okay, I don't typically sleep a lot, so I'm just naming it for y'all. I sat here and I'm like, okay, when I get up in the morning at 4 in the morning, because I'm not a sleeper, these are the things that I'm going to start doing when I wake up. The fuck? White supremacy, it's like it controls everything. So I literally just made a list of these are all the things that I need to do tomorrow. There's so much. Yeah. And so that is in our blood. And Kina, it is so hard to rest, to be at peace, to take our time, to love on ourselves, to care for ourselves.
It's hard to say no. It's hard to say no.
It is. It is. It's hard to say no. It's hard to prioritize ourselves. When we've existed oftentimes in families and in communities and in a country that has not told us that we're important and that we're loved and that we're special and that our lives fucking do matter.
You know, Tasha, one of the things I've started doing, I think probably in the last like the last couple months, somebody will say something like, oh, this person should have done this, or oh, they should have done that. And it depends. I usually do this with people who I'm close with, friends and family. I'll say, oh, but where would they have learned how to do that at? Right? And so that's been big for me because I'm literally trying, like I say, I don't want to tell all my business, but you know the thing I'm trying to do right now.
I know.
No one's done that before. No
Yeah.
one in my family has ever done this shit. So I am literally trying, okay, how do I do this? I don't have a model. This shit is not happening on the TV.
Mm-hmm. When we get off of here, I want to send you a podcast that I want you to listen to pertaining to that, having never done it before.
Yeah. And so
yeah, I want to send you an episode.
Thank you, friend. So we're going to get free, but I just want to name that struggle is real because a lot of us are saying no to things that nobody else in our family ever said no to. Mm-hmm. A lot of us are creating boundaries that nobody else ever created boundaries for.
We never had boundaries. I mean, I'm a trauma therapist. Come on. Nobody ever told me my body is my body. I'm a trauma survivor. Yeah. That I can say no. Black people, brown people, and a lot of people in our families, we've never, like, that's not even a thing.
Yep.
So now we're learning, oh, you mean I don't have to accept that treatment? I can put up some parameters in this relationship. I can say, no, not today. I'm not willing to do that. No, I'm going to do this. No, I don't want to talk to that. Yes, I can. You mean I can do that? Because oftentimes we're raised in families where whoever the big person is, the adult in the room, they're in charge and they can talk to us any way that they want to. They can make any decisions, even if it hurts us. They can do that. They can do whatever they want to our bodies, you know, whatever. They can call us all kind of matter of names, and that's just the norm. And we don't know boundaries because we haven't even been able to name certain treatment as abuse. It's just, this is how we do it in our family.
And 9 times out of 10, Tasha, that person, that adult, they don't know how to do that because nobody did it for them.
No. So now we're having to learn all of these things. And boundaries, it's cute. It's a sexy word now. You know, it's trendy. It's in.
It's cute.
It's real cute. And so we're learning what it means to have boundaries. And oftentimes, half my damn job is teaching clients that, Shug, it's not wrong to create boundaries. Like it's not about hurting somebody else's feelings or anything like that. Like,
and we're gonna have to keep it a buck because of where we are and who we're talking to. Yeah. And I'm being specific about Black people who identify as women, Black femmes, yes. Black women.
Black femmes. Uh-huh.
Even with our brothers, we have to learn how to be like, Part of the reason why I haven't been online this week is because I didn't want to see the shenanigans.
Yeah.
I did not want to listen to a lot of R. Kelly, whatever you call that, ridiculousness. So
And
I'm
it
ducking and
wouldn't be
dodging.
ridiculousness if he had abused some white people, some white women.
Come on now.
He would have been gone. His music catalog would have been off of iTunes and
Right?
Spotify and whatever else, the streaming channels or whatever you call them.
And I want to name this. And if I get this wrong, I want to remind folks that Black people can call me in. Don't call me out first. Try to call me in
I
first.
mean, correct me.
Okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in a world where Black men are always seen as aggressors and always get the short end of the stick in the justice system, I understand how any Black man who has some level of power and privilege reads a R. Kelly conviction or a Cosby conviction as, see, they're not against us. And this is what is misogynoir, right? Because as Black women, we have to listen to Black men make that a conversation not about the actual violence and trauma these Black men created for Black women, but we have to listen. And again, I feel like I'm ducking and dodging the misogynoir in these streets right now, because we have to hold y'all up simultaneously. Y'all are like, this is so unfair. He was a violent predator. You know, to anybody that's bad news bears, but these were your sisters. And so I just wanted to name that for Black women in particular. That shit is rough. It is rough.
Well, it is. It is. Which is why on one of my episodes on my podcast, I said I wanted reparations from Black men who have not protected us.
Well, I gotta go. It was nice talking to you. Let me go ahead and get off internet.
I have personally never, I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm not talking about anybody, no other community. I'm talking about Black people. I have personally never heard a Black male or person with a penis name the family abuser or say, you know what, that Uncle so-and-so, you know, he a dirty ass man. Stay away from him. Yeah. I never heard in my lifetime a Black person, man or person with a penis, name the sexual abuser, the deadbeat father, the domestic violence abuser,
yep,
the narcissistic abuser. So that is why I said I want, if we're going to, because the podcast was, I was expanding the definition of reparations. And so just because I created that episode, I want reparations for every Black man who stayed silent in the face of abuse of Black women and Black children, who stayed silent in the face of neglect of Black women and Black children. We should not have to always be strong. We should not have to always defend ourselves. We should not always have to do all the things and fight for ourselves. We need people to fight for us as well.
And we need Black men to fight for us like they fight for white women.
Because we fight for them. Because we fight for them.
And before anybody gets this and says we're just man bashing, no, we're telling the truth of our embodied experiences and the truth of so many other women's experiences. It's not man bashing.
Yeah. If you stayed silent in the face of abuse in your family and in your community, I am bashing you, and I am okay with that. Because it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
If you stayed silent, and you know, as a queer woman, if you stayed silent against the abuse of somebody queer in your family, in your community, you're foul.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of it. All of it.
And we have to be able to have these tough conversations. We have to be able to name that. I want to say that I think, right, like there's two realities in the sense that rhetorically Black men here, we should protect our women. We should protect our families, right? but they're
Yeah.
constantly getting the messages that we ain't worth shit. And so that needs to be like extracted. And part of what Black men would have to do is acknowledge, damn, I internalized this shit too. I didn't even realize it. I said that I want to protect Black women, but I hear and see and get inundated with the messages that Black women are worth protected. So, you know, and so we have to, again, complicate that. I want us to spend our last time together because we talked a lot about why it's hard to create boundaries, why it's
Yeah.
hard to say no. But what are some strategies? Because you are the expert, you got the formal education, the embodied experience, all the things. What can people start doing? What's the first step people can have to start saying, okay, I'm going to do these hard things? What are some of the things you recommend folks start doing for themselves?
So I'm no expert, but I take the compliment or whatever, you know.
You know, I just put some of your letters behind your name, you know, on the poster, but there's a
Yeah.
lot more letters behind sister's name. I'm just saying.
Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. I think that before we have a conversation on what it looks like to create boundaries, what has to happen is a conversation and acknowledgement in here and in here of ways in that we've violated ourselves, our own needs.
Mm.
Ways in which we've stayed in relationships with people who literally harmed us and meant us no good.
Yeah.
Ways in which we've people pleased. We've said yes when the obvious answer is no. Ways in which we've accommodated people. And I call that anytime we're doing any of these behaviors, it's a violation of us. You're violating yourself. You're harming yourself in so many ways. Ways in which we stayed silent when we should have spoken up. So there has to be some acknowledgement with self. Have a meeting with yourself on what am I doing that's harming me? How am I showing up for myself? How am I showing up in my relationships? How are other people receiving me? Are they seeing me as this person where they can just, anytime they ask for something, they know they're going to get it. Anytime they want something, I'm just going to provide. I'm going to go out of my way. I'm going to do all the things. Because I'm making them happy, but our relationship is contingent on what I can produce.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good word.
And that's not a relationship. That's not a real relationship. It's not a relationship based in love and respect. So I think before we do any step, really get serious about how we are presenting ourselves in each relationship that we are in. And then being willing to say, to each person, I know I told you that I could do that for you, but I can't. I don't have the emotional capacity. I don't have the time. I just can't do it. So being willing to say no, even at the risk of disappointing others, if it's a real relationship, because oftentimes people will say to me, well, the reason I haven't created boundaries is because I'm afraid that this person will be angry with me. I'm afraid to destroy the relationship. If the relationship is destroyed because you created a boundary, because you chose yourself in a situation, then it's not a real relationship.
Yeah, that
It's
part.
fraudulent. It's fraudulent. And Kina, if you and I, for instance, are if we're really friends, then you'll understand that I need some space.
Mm-hmm.
You'll understand that, I know I committed to doing this live with you, but I really can't. I'm not feeling up to it. I've had a hard day, or maybe there's just no excuse and I just don't want to do it. If our relationship ends because I can't do the thing that you want, then it's not a real relationship.
Yep.
And once you start creating these boundaries with people, that really lets you know who are the people that are in my life for the right reasons?
That part. That part.
Right. And if you can't be honest in your relationships, you don't have anything. You don't have, these aren't real relationships. You should be able to say what you want and what you need and what you deserve. You should be able to speak honestly. Go ahead, Kina. I'm sorry.
No, you preaching. I don't have a church friend, but if I did, because I realized that this year too, because of the pandemic and the way that we're measuring space and safety and all these things, right? And I've learned, be in relationship with people who appreciate your yeses and respect your nos.
Right. And I just want to, I'm going to go way out. I'm just going to go way, way out. Okay.
You at home. Go as far out as you want to.
Well, here's the thing. Also, in terms of creating boundaries, if you're in relationship with people who disrespect you verbally, emotionally, physically, sexually, and when you say that is no longer allowed, you're not allowed to speak to me that way. You're not allowed to touch me in that way. You're not allowed to treat me that way, because if you do, the relationship is over. I am done. You will no longer be allowed to treat me in that way. If that person bounces based off of that, great. Now you can welcome in people that love you, that respect you, because any person that hits you, any person that demeans you, any person that really treats you in an abusive manner, there's no love, there's no respect present in that relationship, no matter what.
Yep.
And when that person says, oh, but I'm doing this because I love you, or I do love you, and I'm just angry and I just don't know how to control it, and da-da-da-da-da, the long list of excuses, that's fucking steeped in white supremacy. That's the slave master beating the slave and saying, but I care about you. You're important.
Lord, I don't. Woo.
It's not love.
So for all those people who say, and I know we're not lying, for all those people who say, I only know he loves me if he roughs me up a little bit.
Because the slave master did that to our ancestors.
Well, Tasha, we gotta go. We can't hold no more, sis. We just
you know, when you do a live with me, you know I'm gonna bring the truth.
And we're gonna have to come back to this right here. This particular conversation we're gonna have to come back to, because oh gosh, I can't think of sister's name. I can even see her Twitter picture right now, but I can't think of her name. But she talks about, for us Black people, descendants of enslaved folks, where is the plantation showing up in our parenting? Where is the plantation showing up in how we relate to each other? That shit is still on us. So deep. So deep. So what you said wasn't a lie. It's just trauma.
It's so much trauma. We're in relationship. We love each other. You call me out my name. You doing me real dirty. That's not love.
But I tell myself, but that's because, again, we don't feel like we deserve the good things.
We don't feel like we're worth it.
And I just have to, I will say it. I'm about to have this conversation over at DFW tonight. We're talking about reparations. I will say this every day, my whole damn life. That's why when I run up on people, I say, where's my check? Because of this. Because we can't even figure out how to love each other well because of the trauma we've ingested.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about somebody I know about. I'm talking about me. I was the woman in a relationship with someone, and I was like, it's totally normal that my boyfriend is doing this and this and this. This is what love is. And it's extreme, and it's volatile, and it's wild, and it's crazy.
We accept the trauma because that's all we've known. And we don't know a love. A lot of us don't know a love that's not filled with trauma and abuse.
Yep. And that's not just white supremacy.
Yeah.
That's the patriarchy. that's
It is.
capitalism,
It
right?
is.
It's multiple systems that infuse
It is.
that.
It is. And now we have to learn what it means to be loved well, to be loved good, to be loved wholly, completely.
But part of that is stop normalizing bad shit. I
Okay.
I've literally told a guy, I am never gonna tell you it's okay to what's that phrase people use? I'm about to beat the P up. No.
I never heard that. I
No.
don't even know what in the world.
You know what? I mean, I might be too hip, Tasha. It's in the music of the youth. Okay, it's a whole look, Tasha. Look, you ain't that much. Look, we about the same damn age. But seriously, beat the P up, beat it out the frame, knock it out the frame, and I'm like, why would I let you do that to my vagina?
Oh, jeez.
And people are like, oh, it's just the music. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. If this dude has listened to this song 300 times, it is deep. It's a repeated message. No, you can't beat my vagina up.
Can you put that on a t-shirt? No, you can't beat my vagina.
And you got me acting a fool on this live. But seriously, and we think it's oh, it's not a big deal, but it is.
Right.
It is a big deal because we've
It is.
normalized it.
We do. We do. We accept all kinds of fuck shit because nobody ever told us that we didn't have to. We didn't learn it in our
That
families.
part.
We didn't learn it in our churches. We didn't learn it in our communities. And now I'm telling everybody that's listening, everybody that's going to watch this, you don't have to accept the bare minimum.
Can you say no? You cannot beat my vagina up, and that's where I'm
You
gonna like.
cannot beat my pussy up. Not like that. Can you love my pussy? Fuck.
That
This
is
goes without saying. Come on.
that is the reel that I'm going to make from this conversation. I just want to give you the heads
I
up.
love you, girl. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much. You are so gracious, y'all. Okay, Tasha, tell people how they can listen to your podcast, where they can follow you, where they can support you.
My podcast is yes, my podcast is called When We Speak. It's available on all platforms. And yeah, it's on all platforms, and I'll be talking about all kinds of stuff with the dopest guest ever. Keena's gonna be on very soon. So more of this conversation if you enjoyed it, and I hope you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all, if y'all are not following Tasha, please follow Tasha. Like, honest to goodness, like, highlight of my 2021 is becoming friends with Tasha. So, like,
Seriously.
thank you.
Yeah.
I love you. I will talk to
I
you
love
later.
you too.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.